All right, I'm out here with the helicopter. It is gorgeous, but it is so cold out here. Look, I'll put on the screen what the temperature is. My eyebrows and eyeballs are frozen, as well as both brain cells, so I'm not going to fly this for very long. I can't even speak, I'm so frozen. Hey everyone, welcome to the Captain Drone YouTube channel. My name is Steve, and in my hands would be the super large BO-105 heli. This is an RC 470 class heli according to the specs, and it is designed after the real thing. You know, Messerschmitt makes a BO-105 heli with twin turbine engines, and that one can do acrobats and everything. Can this one do acrobats? I don't know, I haven't flown it in 3D yet, but there is a 3D mode to do acrobats. But it's so darn cold out in my area that I just kept the flight to using GPS mode because my fingers were too frozen. So watch this video, then come back to me. Here we have the helicopter right out of the box, and we're going to take it for its maiden flight. Check out that yellow paint scheme. It is highly visible on the ground and in the air. Please also be aware that I have placed an Insta360 Go 3S camera on the side of the heli to capture some cool in-flight footage. First, power on your radio transmitter and ensure your switches are in the correct position. Place the stop run switch on stop. Place the 8 O and normal switch on normal, place the 3D GPS and home switch on GPS, and finally place the invert normal switch on normal. First things first, we have to pull off the front canopy so we have access to the battery, and then we just need to plug the battery in. The blades will initialize, and now the helicopter will search for satellites so that it gets a GPS lock. When that happens, this light will turn solid green. Then you can put the front cover back on. Okay, we're ready to fly. Your radio now shows you that you have a signal from the transmitter and the receiver in the helicopter. To start up the motors, pull the joysticks down and out, count to 5, then release the joysticks and flick the switch to run. It will then take several seconds for the motors to get up to speed. Also take note of the wind conditions. As you can see, the wind is blowing in this direction, so when my helicopter takes off, it is going to move in that direction. Don't panic because the GPS takes a few seconds to kick in once it's flying, and then everything is great and it is locked in position. Now this is a maiden flight, so I'm just going to fly it around to see how well it flies. First thing to note is that it does remain at the height that you leave it when you release the joysticks. So as I'm flying it around here, I am not controlling the height, I am just moving it forward and side to side. If you can fly any beginner drone on the market from Autel, from DJI, from Hobson, from Fimi, then you can fly this helicopter without any issue. Now for those of you who are total beginners and have never flown anything in the RC hobby before, well then, you can still fly this quite easily because the helicopter is doing all the work for you. Now I've been in the RC hobby since the year 2013, so I'm making it look really easy here. But honestly, I'm sure I could give this to my grandma and she could fly it. Next, I'm going to put the helicopter into figure 8 mode. This causes the helicopter to fly a figure 8. I don't have to touch the joysticks, and as a matter of fact, I could put the radio down on the ground if I wanted and walk away and go sit down and watch this thing fly around. So sit back and let's watch the helicopter do an autonomous figure 8. Next, I'm going to get the helicopter to fly a nose-in circle. If I stood in the center of the circle and placed the camera on the helicopter, as I've done, well, it would film me just rotating around me, but I'm not really standing in the center. And again, the helicopter is doing this autonomously. I do not have to touch the joysticks. To cancel the autonomous mode, just flick the switch to normal. Next, I want to try out a speed test in GPS mode. So first off, I'm going to move the helicopter forward at about 75% forward speed. Then I'll bring it back over my head at about 80% speed. And finally, I'll do one last speed test at 100% speed. Now take note, at 100% speed, the nose is going to drop and you're going to thunder into the ground. Watch this, I catch it at the last second and I pull it straight back up. Whoa, that was close. Next, I'll try out GPS return to home. The helicopter rises to a set altitude and points its nose back at home point. It flies quickly to home point, then it's going to orientate itself into the same orientation as it was when it took off. Then it begins its descent down to the landing pad. Now I will say this descent is extremely slow, slower than any other FlyWing helicopter I've ever seen. There is no way you can crash this thing on landing autonomously. As a matter of fact, you could leave, go home, have a sandwich, come back, and it will still be in landing mode because it comes down that slow. But I must point out, the GPS is very impressive. Look at how close it is landing compared to where it took off. You know, we're talking inches here. The helicopter will automatically turn itself off. The only thing you should do is flick that switch from run to stop. This will ensure you do not accidentally start the motors. And now let me show you what comes in the box if you buy this heli. Here we have the box. It's large, but it's not super large. Items in the box include a quick start guide, a handy tool so you can remove components if you wish, a data cable so that you can connect the helicopter to the FlyWing software and then reconfigure options. The included battery or batteries are 5000 mAh 4-cell batteries with an XT60 plug. A 4-cell battery charger is included with the appropriate power cable for your country. A FlySky radio is included. 4 AA batteries are required to power it. This radio is very common with many beginner products in the RC hobby, and that's because it's a really good radio. All of the important switches are labeled, and for beginners the main screen is perfect because it gives you just the minimum information required. And the last item in the box would be your beautiful helicopter. Please note that the blades are not attached when you receive the helicopter, but they're very simple to attach because they're quick release. You just push the blade in, turn it, and release. There you go. Alright, so you're back to me and I'm going to tell you quickly a few more things about this heli. As you've seen in the video, it does fly on a 4S LiPo battery and it does come with a 5000 mAh LiPo battery and you'll get about 20 minutes of flight time with this battery. Inside it has a brand new M10 GPS unit and it captures the satellites extremely fast. I just took it out of the box, plugged it in, went outside and it got the satellites within seconds. It is sophisticated with the return to home mode, so if you don't initiate the return to home, if the battery gets low, it goes into return to home. If the transmission between your radio and the helicopter gets, cut off for some reason, I don't know, maybe this runs out of power or something, it returns to home and lands. And this 4-bladed rotor head up top, there's a lot of metal and aluminum up there. And the servos, when I read the specs, they are digital servos with metal gears. And also, I really like the new blade design. I just push in, spin it, pull out, and I have the blade. So if you want to transport it with no blades on and then get to the field and put your blades on, that is entirely doable. And these blades do have a stainless steel metal rod running right down the center, so they're extremely strong. And the design of the blades gives you plenty of lift. That's one thing I found with this helicopter. The head speed doesn't have to move very fast for you to get lift. And if you're wondering what's the range between this radio and the receiver in the helicopter, it's 1 kilometer. I'll put what that is in feet on the screen. You'll never fly that far because you can't see the helicopter at that range. And if you're wondering, can I use my own radio? Say you had a Radio Master radio, a Jumper radio, or some other radio? Well, yes, you can use pretty much any radio you want. If your radio is not compatible with the receiver that comes with this heli, it's a FlySky receiver, I believe, then put your own receiver in it and you're fine to go. So the only other thing I want to say on this heli is it does look stunning in the air, as you saw from the video. I do like the yellow color. Yellow might not be everybody's preference, but when it comes to a helicopter, yellow looks really good. Do I say the word helicopter funny? I don't know. Inside this big bubbled canopy, There's a lot of space in there. The battery's in there. I've left the battery inside just to show you how much space is in there. Look when I turn it sideways. It's just a big bubble canopy. And you could probably fit a man in there, a little man or woman, as well as some sort of control panel. If you built your own control panel out of balsa wood or whatever, or plastic, and put it inside to make it look very realistic, you could do that with this helicopter. There's so much space. And no, before anybody asks, you cannot put your cat in here or your puppy and fly it around. Not legally anyways. And finally, if you own the FlyWing Huey, well, you might want to see what the size difference is. This new model, the BO-105, it's larger. Watch this. I'm going to bring the Huey down to it. Here we go. The Huey does not look very big compared to this beast. I'll see if I can lift them and show it. You see the Huey? It's kind of tiny compared to this heli. Probably not doing it justice holding them both in my hands, but you can pretty much tell that this yellow one is massive. All right, so with all that said, I'm going to put links to this product below. It is sold on the RCGoing website, and many of you have probably bought from the RCGoing website before, so you'll be used to it. Go check it out. It's not super inexpensive. It depends on what country you live in. In my country of Canada, it's kind of expensive because our Canadian dollar is not very good compared to the US dollar. And it is one of a kind helicopters. So if you have this, you'll be the only person at your field with this. And I will tell you, I've flown this and it does cause people to stop their cars and come over and check it out because it really stands out in the air against the blue sky. All right, guys, that's the end of the video. If you have questions on the heli, something I didn't cover, post your question below and I'll get back to you. I am going to make another video where I get my buddy Jedi Steve to fly this in 3D mode and we'll see what he can do with it. But for now, I say thanks for watching. I'll catch you in a future video with many more cool product reviews. Until then, I say bye.